Howdy y'all, I'm Katz, and today we're going to talk about Tunisian increases. Now we've done Tunisian simple stitch, we've done Tunisian decreases, and now it's time to complete the hat trick. There are tons of ways to do increases. I'm going to show you the 4 most common, and then for all of my girly pops at the end of the video, we'll do a comparison, a discussion, and I'll talk about my favorite and why. So let's get started. Okie dokie, so let's get started. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to do a row of the increase, then we'll do a regular row on top of it just so you can see what it's like to work in some of these increases, because some of them can be a little bit tricky, and then we'll move on to the next increase type. And we're starting with a chain 7 4-row Tunisian simple stitch. So let's get started. We'll build like, I don't know, some sort of cone shape. This first increase is going to be called a full stitch increase. And to do this one, if we look at our Tunisian, we have a vertical bar, and a space in between it that has our return pass going through it. We're going to go into that space. So I'm going into that space. I'm not going through any of the stitches, just directly through that space. I'll show you again. See that space right there? I'm like, hi there, going in ya. And then pull up a loop, and that is our increase. So let's do one on the other side of this middle one. So again, vertical bar, got our space right there. I'm gonna go directly into that space, pull up my loop, that's my increase. And finish our row. Our return pass on all of these stitches, luckily, is going to be just a regular Tunisian pass. So I'm going to do yarn over, pull through 1 for my edge, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then here's where our increase was. Do you see how it's coming basically around that prior return pass? Just going to yarn over, pull through 2 like normal. Here's our center stitch. Then again, we have our increase, yarn over, pull through 2. And there we go. That is that row done, and let's work into it. These stitches are easy to see because they're going to be longer, and they're coming from, instead of coming from the center, they're coming from around that pole. So super easy to work into on our next forward pass. It's right there. So we'll go through it just like normal. Remember all of these, there's our increase. We're just going to work through them as we normally would. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And that one is done. It is surprisingly maybe one of the easier ones. I'm going to save most of my comments about this for the discussion at the end. So if you're interested, make sure you stay tuned. Our next one is going to be kind of a twofer because there's 2 different ways that we can do it. It's our yarn overs and our yarn under. Whether you're yarning over though or yarning under is what it makes a completely different look, which is why I'm counting this as 2 different types. So let's do the yarn over first. So I'm going to go into my stitch, into my next stitch, pull up a loop, and then here's where I'll do my increase. And all we're going to do for this style is I'm going to put the yarn over my hook, and then I'm going to go into my next stitch, pull up a loop, and I just made my increase right there. I'll show you that one more time. So I'm ready to do my increase. I'm going to yarn over my hook, and then go in, pull up a loop. So I have the loop I just pulled up and my increase. And that's it. Super simple. Don't have to worry about going through stitches or nothing. So let's go ahead and do another one right here while we're here. So I'm going to yarn over my hook, go through my next stitch, pull up, and I've just made another loop. I like to hold on to the yarn over. I think it's just habit, but you don't need to, you know. It's still going to be there. It's not that difficult. It's not going to go. And then we'll just do our return pass as normal. So I'm going to pull through 1, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then this one will be our increase right there. These can be a little trickier to work through, but they're pretty easy. You just might want to be a little bit more mindful. Oh, no, yeah, no, next it's coming up. So I'm just yarning over, pulling through 2, and here it is. Here's my other increase. I can tell because it's coming kind of sideways out from what seems to be like the back of the stitch prior. But I'm just going to yarn over, pull through 2 like normal. All right. And then working into the increases can be a little bit trickier just because they like to hide away on this one. So if we look at it before we work in, we have these 2 massive holes. Don't worry, they'll get covered. But that's my increase there, and that's my increase there. So they do tend to hide. So you kind of just need to be paying attention when you're doing this. So here's where I want to find my increase stitch, and it's this one right here. The reason I know is it's more of a vertical thing, right? It's definitely not this bar because this is our next stitch because it's coming out of the stitch. It's this angled one. It kind of looks like it's coming from behind the previous loop. But yep, we'll just go under like it normal. And I'll show you the next one too. Here we go. So do you see that angled one? That's the one that we want to pick up. So I'm going to just yarn over, pull that, and then finish our row off like normal. Same return pass and everything. That's the thing with these yarn overs, and it'll be the same with the yarn under in a different way. But they can be a little bit tricky to work into in this next pass. But as long as you're kind of looking and paying attention, you'll be able to find them super, super easy. Whoa, almost. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. And there we are. Our increases. There's one. There's one over there. So that is our yarn over increase. Now the yarn under increase, same kind of concept, but guess what? That's right. We're yarning under. And this one involves a little bit more steps. So we're going to put the yarn under our hook. You can also think of it as putting the yarn in front of our hook. See that motion one more time? I'm putting the yarn over my hook, and you have to hold this. So hold that yarn down, then go pick up our next stitch, yarn over and pull through, and once that's pulled through, you can then release it. And show you that motion again. Putting the yarn under my hook, I'm holding it down, going into my next stitch, picking up a loop, pulling it up, and there's my increase right there. You have to hold it down when you do the yarn under, and I'll show you why. It's really tricky or impossible if you don't do it. So let's see, we'll do one more, and then I'll do my increase right here. So if I don't hold this when I go in to do my next stitch, there's no way for me to like pick it up without twisting it. So you have to hold it down when we go in. And then we'll do our edge stitch. There are a couple more things to consider when you're doing the yarn under, but we'll cover that in the discussion. Or the yarn under, yeah. I think that's what I said. Anyways, edge stitch, 2, and then this pull through process is going to be a little bit more challenging. You really want to be careful. These stitches are so close together that it's gonna guide you to pull through both of them, but then just kind of backtrack and you'll be fine. But we'll continue going, and then I'll show you on the next one. Okay, so here we are. I'm gonna yarn over, and I only want to pull through 2, and it's a little difficult, but we manage. Sweet. So this yarn under one looks completely different because you see that little V? That's our yarn under. So it makes an actual little V on the front stitch. And when we're working back into them, because of the way that they're formed, these legs are connected. They're just kind of under in the loop. So if I pull on one of them, it's gonna completely make the other one disappear. But that's fine. We'll just backtrack it. So you just kind of want to be mindful when you're doing this to keep an eye on that other leg so that it doesn't disappear on you. But we're just doing it like normal, you know. You know your Tunisian by now. We just pick up a stitch. Sorry, still kind of getting over my cold, so I was about to cough. But let's keep on going. And here we are again. So there's our increase, our yarn under increase. I'm gonna go in there, gonna pull up, and it kind of looks like that stitch disappeared, but it's right there. I can make it dance if I pull on it, kinda. But if you need to loosen it up again, what you'll do is you just kind of wiggle it around and it'll show up again. It'll look hella messy, but it'll show up again. Okay, then our edge stitch, and then we'll work through it just like normal. The yarn under version of an increase is the one that kind of has the most moving parts, which can make it a little bit more difficult of one to do, but just follow the tutorial, you'll be fine. I have faith in you. All right. So this is also going to be the one that you can see because that little V right there is where our increases are. See those? Super cute. All right, now the last one that we're gonna cover, I've seen this done called multiple different things. I've seen it as a double stitch or a anchored increase. But what we're gonna do is I'm going to go into my next stitch, pull up a loop. Now remember the anatomy of this, right? We have this return pass chain. I'm going to go through the same stitch and then into that chain, and I'm going to pull a loop up going underneath both of those, and that's what's going to create our increase. Let me show you that again from the beginning. So here's where I want to place my increase. I'm going into that chain, that vertical bar like normal. Then to make the next one, I'm going to go through the vertical bar, through my chain, then pull up a loop. So through my vertical bar, through my chain, yarning over and pulling up a loop through both of those. There's my increase. This one has like a couple more steps, but it's pretty easy to do, and all of the components like this chain is really nice to work into. Let's do our next one. You might have noticed that I was holding the loop when I was doing it. I was holding it, going in, pulling up my loop. But you don't have to. I just think it's easier. Like I can go in, yarn over, pull up my loop, then go in again, go in, yarn over, pull through two. It just doesn't feel as nice and easy to do, so I just like to hold on to it. So again, we're going through our vertical bar, yarning over, pulling up a loop. Now I'm going to hold, go through the vertical bar again, the same vertical bar, go through that chain, pick up a loop, and there we go. We have our increase. Boop, 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 boop. Get my edge stitch. And a little bit more yarn. That's it. Though that one is super, it seems kind of tricky, but it really isn't. Yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and then these ones are my increases. So this one's coming actually through the vertical, and then this one looks like it's coming directly out of that chain, which it actually really is. This one also feels the most like working through regular stitches on this return pass, which is nice. Here's our increase again. Do you see how it looks like it's coming out of the chain more so than like this one next to it that looks like it's coming out of that bar? So easy, so nice. So there we are. There's an increase right here. And where's our other one? Looks like it's right there. And working back through them is super easy because the way that they're anchored, it just feels like you're working through regular Tunisian. That's our increase right there. Right there. And yeah, so those are going to be the 4 different ways to do increases in Tunisian. The 4, I would say, most common ways to do them. If you want to hear my takes about these kind of ones and listen to the discussion, there is some fun, interesting thing that I kind of figured out with one of them that you can apply, maybe a little trade secret, but I'll tell you about it in our next one. If all you wanted was a tutorial, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm a little baby YouTuber, so everything helps. And leave a comment about something you want to see, maybe an experiment, maybe a question on your mind about crochet, fiber arts in general, and I can address it on one of our upcoming shows. But yeah, here are our increases. We've got our full stitch. We have our, let's see, full stitch, yarn over right here. Then we go up, there's our yarn under, and then we go up. And here is our anchored. But yeah, stay tuned if you want to listen to the discussion. If not, see you guys later. But for all you discussion heads and girly pops, I'll see you in a few. Bye. Alrighty, y'all. Welcome to the discussion section. So yeah, I have some opinions, and I don't know if you could tell in the video, but there's some that I definitely like more of these increases than others. And for all of these pieces, they are 4 rows of just standard Tunisian crochet, then 4 rows of increases stacked so that we can kind of see what they look like together, then just 4 normal rows. So this first one is going to be that full stitch, the one where we go around that little return pass bar, and I just don't like it. I think the stitch pattern on it is kind of gross looking, and it's very holy. I don't know if you guys can tell, but yeah, that gap is just not something that I'm into. There's probably an application for it, but I don't know what it is, and it's not the method that I would use. Now, next, looking into the more viable ones, we have the yarn over. And I like the yarn over for its simplicity. It kind of looks nice stacked, but again, we have the problem with these holes. And I'm not sure why that there's holes on one side, but there's not on the other side when we do it. But again, when we think about Tunisian crochet, the stitches aren't symmetrical, right? Because of the return pass, there's kind of like a lean to one way or another. So I'm assuming that there's something with that going on, but I'm not 100% sure. So Editor Cats here. So I was doing some more research on this tension idea, and there's hardly anything written about it, but I did find this blog by this woman named Rachel Henry. I'll have it linked in the description. But she discusses the symmetricality of decreases in Tunisian simple crochet, simple stitch, sorry. But the thing that pertains to us is she kind of goes over the anatomy of the stitch, and the stitch itself just isn't symmetrical. So that vertical bar isn't actually vertical, it's oblique. It leans either to the left or to the right, depending on factors, she gets into them. But that's what's causing all of these kind of weird like gaps and different widths in the stitches, which totally makes sense. Like if we look even at the top of these kind of like funnel shapes, they're leaning over to the left, you know, like if you look at the top, it dips down to the left. And that would make sense because all the stitches, vertical bars at least, are leaning to the left. She gets into more detail and she comes up with some solutions in the blog. She talks about doing this kind of like twisted reverse stitch thing. I don't know, very interesting, but definitely more research on this is needed. We need funding for the research. That funding needs to go to me so that I can conduct said research. My email is in my info on my page. Anyways, back to the video. For me, nice stitch pattern, gaps, not interested in it. So yarn over is probably one that I would skip to. Now, the yarn under is really, really nice, I think. It kind of gets rid of that main issue, which is like the gaps. And I think the stitch pattern is really nice. Bring it closer to you. You can really see where those increases are, which I think is kind of pretty. My only issue is that these ridges are noticeable. They're very noticeable on camera, but even in person and tactilely, it's pretty noticeable. So I need a drink of water. Again, though, there is an issue, and that issue is kind of like what we were having when we were doing the decreases, right? It's this spacing right here. If I bring this close to the camera again, on this side, this is all kind of even, but on this side, this gap is way bigger. But because I liked it so much, I did another kind of experiment, and I found a way to kind of close the gap. It's still not perfect, but it is still kind of like a method that worked. I'll bring it up closer so you can see it. And essentially all I did is, when working the return pass row, we have our regular return pass, then chain 2, or 1 for the edge, then our chain and pull through for the whatever, and continue that. But once we get to the one that's the added yarn over stitch, I actually do a chain together. I do a decrease over that stitch, and it pulls it close to do this. Let me actually show you an example of it real quick, just so you kind of know what I'm talking about. So we won't work through, we should probably use the right size hook though. That would have been a disaster. So if I'm going through, yay, this is so cool, and I want to do a decrease here, so I'm yarning under, going into my next one, and then we'll just work a couple more. So let's pretend that I'm at the end. So I'm gonna do my edge stitch, right? Then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through, and then this is where my increase is. So I'm actually gonna yarn over and pull through all 3 of those, like that, and then finish it off. And then my next return pass is going to be exactly like normal. You know, I'm gonna go in, but visually, when we're here, this kind of looks like a mess because there's that decrease right there. But if we just work into each one of those stitches, it still actually works as like a normal kind of pass. This isn't gonna be perfect just because we're doing it real quickly. But then, yeah, then on this return pass, I would just do it completely normal because it's like a completely normal one. And then let's take a peek at what this did. But yeah, you can't even really tell that there was a decrease right there, right? It just looks like a regular kind of pass. And when we compare the two finished products, they're the same size. I think this one might be just a little bit smaller because of the tension. But if I lay it on top, they are essentially the same. So I think it works. I would say that if you're going to be doing this kind of yarn under pattern, to do a decrease only on this side, only on the return pass, and only on the side on your left. Also, when looking at the yarn under thing, because it creates this ridge and these V's in the stitch pattern, like right there, it is used in like just specific types of stitch patterns for Tunisian crochet. So works as an increase, also works in like doing some sort of weird stitch patterns. But yeah, I think it's a cool option. But I think ultimately my favorite is going to be that double stitch one. I think it gives us a nice kind of stitch pattern that isn't as visible as the yarn under, and it closes all the gaps like I was talking about, and these pieces are all pretty much the same size. If I bring it up, yeah, a nice consistency no gapping. So I would say that if I was going to do most of my projects, I would use this double stitch method. I think on that sweater, I ended up using this double stitch method that I showed a while ago, and I think that would be mine going forward. Either that or doing the yarn under, but with that other pass. I just think that the only thing that would keep me away from it is the harsh ridge that we get. But again, these are all going to be stacked increases, and normally we, on this channel at least, support staggering our increases throughout a project. But yeah, that is going to be the video for today. So thank you guys so much. I think this like pretty much ends our like Tunisian 101, 102 kind of course. So next week should be the cat hat. I just finished the what do you call it? I wrote the pattern, then I did my like testing, my pattern testing. So then this next one that I'll do should be the hat in general. It's summertime, which means sun's out, guns out, and I might get a little bit busier for work, so the videos may not come out weekly in the future. Not casting any spells, but just preempting yet. But yeah, as always, comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you want to see in the future, and get ready to look super cute in your cat hat. Alright, see you later guys, bye! Alright, so I don't really have a blooper reel today, but I was just wondering how many of you people actually see this. So, yeah, I don't know, leave a comment with your favorite emoji that you've always wanted to use but never gotten the chance to. And I'll tell you a joke. When do you know when a joke becomes a dad joke? It's apparent. Alright, cool, bye.